Do you believe in miracles? We got Fizzle in the house. Fizzle, what's good, man? Fizzle, glad to have you here.
Let's go. This the South Harmon Podcast. Glad you here today. Hit that Patreon link if you here to stay. Dynasty best ball, that's my favorite way. 40 chess trade show. Let's make a trade today or check a AMA. You know Adam at the ATM. Mike always in the building. He gon' stay with him. They gon' start every show off with their own trade. Fantasy's a big ocean. They made their own wave. Make sure you tapping in Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesday night, Saturday morning, ain't no better way. Hit that notification bell when the news break. Go subscribe right now, don't get the news late. Destination Devy, that's the team. Dynasty Football, man, that's my favorite thing. I remember Biggie said it was all a dream. Now people watching on their phones and computer screens. Welcome to the team.
Welcome back in, everybody, to another edition of the Dynasty Trade Show. So glad you could join us. Thank you so much. All these trades, just a reminder, come from the patrons, man. Get in the Discord, $1 a month, patreon.com/South Harmon. Get you access to put your trades in there if you want to gloat or if you would like to get destroyed like some of the people who put their trades in there, but that's fine. Either way, we enjoy them. Hope you guys enjoy them as well. And make sure you're checking out the website, southharmonff.com. All right, enough of the promo stuff. Adam, we got trades to do. Another trade show coming at you right now.
Like, comment, subscribe, and let's see, as Fizzle told you, what I did. And more importantly, Mike, I will say 2 weeks in a row having to trade with the same manager doesn't feel the greatest, but I don't mind this one or the last one. So
it's not from T-Rock, is it? Damn it.
Oh, yeah.
Damn it.
It is. It's from T-Rock. Mike, you're in this league, so it's not only just from T-Rock. I got some McNutted words here. So let me go ahead and read it off, and I'll let Mike, depict what he needs to out of this deal. So I am receiving Brandin Cooks, T-Rock's 24 second, and T-Rock's 25 first. T-Rock is receiving Marvin Jones, Kendrick Bourne, and Calvin Ridley. Mike comes in here as you look at him staring into the soul of the camera you're watching here. He comes in, a couple minutes after. I will veto it with Joe Biden. And how come you open your legs for everyone but me, he says. 12 team. This is a 2-quarterback league, 1.75 tight end premium, best ball start 12. Mike, the floor is yours. You take it away.
I mean, do you want Calvin Ridley over Brandin Cooks? The answer is
of course.
Yeah. But in a best ball league, like, how different is the scoring? Like, if Calvin Ridley has a bad year or is slow, I mean, he's taken a lot of time off of football with that suspension. And let's not forget, before he got suspended, he had a kind of an injury riddled to see what I did there. Riddled season, Ridley. No, I
like what you did. I like what you did.
But I like him. But I like. Let's just say it's really tough for me to rank him and Christian Kirk, Adam. Like, I got to put them right next to each other. Christian Kirk did phenomenal. I know our guy Jeff Mueller from Destination Devy, the injury analyst, put on Twitter like he's a big Calvin Ridley fan, and I'm out there just chiding him, and like this feels like a Christian Kirk tweet on whatever he sends all the time. He's like, why do people like him? And I'm like, well, Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk have had the same number of elite seasons that matter in fantasy. Like, we really forget that Calvin Ridley has either been injured or had a slow start, and the fact he's like old as shit and he's really only played 4 years in the NFL.
Right. He's older than people think. 28 years old.
Right. Right. Some of the other wide receivers around that age have like 6 years of production, 7 years of production. The case of like DJ Moore, like going into your 8th year. It's kind of that crazy thing. It's just wild. It's wild for Calvin Ridley. I will say this. I want him over Brandin Cooks, but it isn't by a lot in best ball. It's not by a huge gap. Like maybe Brandin Cooks in the second makes up for Calvin Ridley. Mm-hmm. Like in all honesty, in a best ball league, I probably actually want the Brandin Cooks in the second side over Calvin Ridley. Then you get to the 25 first, and I know it's 2 years out, but again, this is a league, Adam, you can feel comfortable in. We just did the startup. It's going to be around in 2025. It's a league I commish. It's a league we do with the patrons. It's going to be around.
Oh, it'll be around.
Keep this thing going.
The question for me is not will it be around. It's like how T-Rock's team will be, which we'll get into that a little more.
Adam, if that is the 112.
No, I'm with you. But like initially, like understand how the trade got to where it went and where we were starting was he's basically trying to leverage, a 25 first straight up for Ridley. And it's like, okay, like that makes sense value-wise. But for the time decay, am I better off like holding Ridley just for something I might prefer to have in my lineup right now, where I know how sometimes you end up sitting on a 25 fifth for an extra year. Not that I won't end up making that work, but it takes away from potential if you do get injuries possibly of like if you want to contend right now, you may end up having to wait on a trade like that where you send away a guy with Ridley's upside. But the truth is his downside to me is still there. Right now, I know there's also so much hype, and because we haven't seen him play, all the stuff that you're going to see in training camp, it just feels like that's just going to make Ridley's price go up for a little while. That's part of my problem with him. But here's the thing. That, in a one-for-one vacuum, I think is still fine. But I just wasn't really willing to do it. Then, all of a sudden, because I was telling him I want a 24 first, not a 25 first if I'm going to sell you Ridley. Now he's like, I want you to take the 25 first. I'm keeping my 24 first. You guys have taught me too much, blah, blah, blah. When Brandin Cooks came in the counter, Mike, and I'm like, oh, so you're going to let me get your 25 first and I can kind of down tier to Brandin Cooks and get a second? Because here's where I was thinking about it, Mike, right? Like if you tell me Calvin Ridley in the 25 first, which how it kind of started, let's say would you say that that's a canceling out deal? Like is that fair in best ball, a first for Ridley?
Yeah, it's pretty close. I don't think there's a 25, yes. I don't think there's a lot of people who pay a 24 first. For Calvin Ridley.
And that's what I was pushing for, and I know that's not going to probably happen sometimes.
Yeah, you got to be a true believer. But a 25 first, yeah, most definitely. That's probably an even swap, to be honest.
And then really what put me over, Mike, was like when Brandin Cooks came into the deal.
Right.
And then on top of it, the second, which is what I asked for. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, let me get the second. And he was wanting these two guys back, and I'm like, listen, I'm all about best balls and darts and stuff, but Marvin Jones, to me, I've been kind of on the train that he's been feeling old for a couple years, and I'm more than happy to get off of him. Kendrick Bourne, I'm fine, but like I don't know. I don't think either one of those pieces are worth a second personally, even in best ball.
I'm looking here, right? I keep track of these things. Spike weeks, consistency weeks.
We actually have a whole chart.
We actually do. Kendrick Bourne, I did find he did have one consistent week last year. One.
Okay.
And then they added Julio Jones. Juju Smith-Schuster.
I was going to say, wow.
Juju.
For those of you who weren't at Savage Semester last week, we're getting ready to start on the same foot. No, not. I gotcha. Go ahead.
We're good. They added Juju, which just further complicates the role of Kendrick
1,000% it does. Yeah.
They draft Kayshon Boutte, whether he's anything or not, but they got another receiver in there, and then your second year of Tyquan Thornton, whether he's worth a shit or not, doesn't really matter. The wide receiver room's crowded. Juju's getting work. The other two guys, I'm just throwing them in there for the fact these guys are rookies or second year guys. Marvin Jones, a little bit better. He had two, and maybe he has a role with Geno out. But man, he's old as shit. he's just kind of. You got 3 weeks if everything just holds pat from last year, which is very up in the air whether that happens or not. This could be nothing, and that's not what I want to spend a second on. Let alone a guy like Brandin Cooks, who could have 3-4 of his own. He could match or exceed both of those guys' totals by himself pretty easily. Does it for 4 weeks. He's a top 24 wide receiver, and all of a sudden you go, yeah, he just outproduced both of these guys. So no matter how you want to look at it, Brandin Cooks in the second for Calvin Ridley or just the 25 first for Calvin Ridley, the rest of it doesn't line up. And that's also why I was just like, what are we doing here? Especially when a lot of the pieces that – this is why I said, how come you open your legs for everybody? A lot of these pieces, especially the picks, were involved in a potential deal that we're going to go down that he was like, nah, I'm walking away from it. Let me just tell you, the players I was offering were far better than Marvin Jones, Kendrick Bourne, and Calvin Ridley.
Now I understand the furious part. It's all making sense.
It is.
The dollars are making sense. And, Mike, let me say this to your point. Brandin Cooks last year was in basically, and not basically, it was his worst quarterback situation, worst team situation he's been in his career. People kind of forget. You talk about Calvin Ridley. This is actually kind of an interesting one for the topic you're talking about, with Calvin Ridley being older than people think, but not having as much on his resume as what people may think. Mike, Brandin Cooks, for those of you who don't know, he was a young receiver coming into the league, and he has played for a lot of teams. A lot of teams. He's a year older. Think about how much more production he has in his career for 1 year of age versus Calvin Ridley. Now, the crazy part, though, to your point that you're making against those two is this is by far and away last year his worst season. And I mean, when by far and away, it's not even relatively close to anyone else.
Quarterback
any
play
of the
was
other
horrible. Davis Mills, they had some Jeff
Terrible
Driscoll moments. It was disgusting.
First 4 weeks, he had 2 consistency weeks with the quarterback play he was dealing with. Right. And he ended up finishing actually as wide receiver 7 the last week of the season. So he put up 3 consistency weeks, to your point, last year. Now he's going to try to fill, like in reality, Dallas basically said, when we traded Amari Cooper away for that 5th and we were trying to shed that money, like that, yeah, maybe that was actually kind of foolish on our part. And you know what we're going to do is we're going to try to make Brandin Cooks the buyback cheap for that. And like I honestly think he's going to fill that number 2 role. And with Schultz gone, like not saying they play the same position, but like I think there's targets to be earned. And I want to have a player attached to Dak Prescott. And understand this, Brandin Cooks basically when he's played with like middle of the road quarterbacks or higher, he's a 1,000-yard receiver every time. Every time. No. And we can talk about this because Mike's talked Juju. I was talking Brandin Cooks as 2 of the buys for us in best ball, especially that you can get cheap. We'll see another one of those type buys. But I will say this, Mike. Brandin Cooks, to me, like it won't I'll say this. If you tell me I have to bet right now, like even money, I think Ridley will have a better season because he's attached to T-Law and a better offense than does Brandin Cooks. But if you told me in their spike weeks, consistency weeks, that they're damn close or that it's almost the same, negligible,
right?
I won't be shocked. I won't be shocked.
No, me either. You killed this one. And this was just at the time, I mean, you can't see it on here, but he made a deal right before it that also involves some pieces that we were talking about in draft picks.
Well,
for another position I was trying to deal him.
Let's not spoil it. We're gonna let T-Rock have.
Oh no.
Let me just say this, all right? T-Rock made 3 trades in this league, and because of the people he made it with, we can actually feature them all as that was my trade. This is Koopa's trade.
Oh my God.
So let's talk about this one, Mike. Koopa receives. Now I will say this: these were the picks I was gunning for initially. Not that he was going to give me the same deal with Calvin Ridley, but like I was seeing, like, hey, even if I just sweeten up the deal with Ridley, something coming back to you, can I get Big Salmon's 24 first? Right. Then so what he does is he sends that 24 first, another 24 second of his, and Ezekiel Elliott to Koopa, who's been buying Zeke shares like, Zeke is back in style. 2016 Zeke, just flying around. T-Rock's acquiring the love of Koopa's life. Geno Smith, a 24 third and $50 in fab, which, let's just say this, $50 in fab is serious, but relative to the pieces in the deal, maybe not that serious. So this is the same league for everyone that's watching. Shit auction 3. It's 12 team, 2 quarterback, 1.5 tight end premium. Best ball start 12. Mike, analysis on this trade now.
Like the only part that I really like is the fab and the 24 third, right? Like I'm comfortable. We talked about this on Savage Semester 2 with the patrons, and I wrote an article about it in the Destination Devy newsletter. Like at this point, Ezekiel's fine, but if I could just liquidate him for any third, like I'm just gonna ride that.
Do it right.
Like,
yep.
I get it. Koopa's on the other end of the spectrum where he's buying for thirds, so you made a deal with somebody. So if I look at the 24 third and Zeke, like I'm cool. Like good job, T-Rock. You got a 24 third for Zeke. I'm with you. I would do the same thing. I've liquidated Zeke for that. The rest of it though, there's no way in Santa Claus shit I'm paying a 24 first and second for Geno Smith.
Well, let me ask you this: what about the 24 first?
No.
Would you pay a first for Geno if it was your own and you thought it was going to be very late? That's what I'm asking. Okay, no.
Nope.
All right, that's fine. Now, I would say this: That I think is probably pretty rich for Geno, but I think there are some people that are either get desperate for quarterback or they see Geno's warp last year, whatever it may be, and they say 24 first is worth it. I'd say that's a very rich bet in the process of how I think about dynasty assets. Like I don't want to be on I'm sending away a liquid first for Geno, so I'm with you. But I also think like market wise, it's not crazy. But the second does make it to me where it's like, dude, stop. Like you want to send a first for Geno? Like I'm not going to advise it. But if you're telling me like in best ball that locks down your quarterback room, I don't like it. But fine, go ahead and do your thing. The second, just no, man. This is where it's got to stop to me. And I'll say this, Mike. I didn't run it, but shout out to the Warp tool, South Harmon FF /Warp. Also, if you do the same thing for the simulator, that's part of the Warp feature. These picks, Mike, currently, now granted, in a startup, I will say this: when you run the simulator, right? It's what the simulator is going to do is it's going to run all the teams in your league 100 times, and it's going to be versus the actual schedule, and it's going to give you an idea of what teams are balanced where in the power rankings and how they do in wins and losses. I will say coming out of a startup, or this is an auction startup, right? The newer the league, I think the more that variance can play because of just injuries. There's not enough depth on a lot of these teams. But Mike, this is the 104 and the 204 based on the simulator. Now, my point is, let's just say this. They project mid. Let's call it that. It's not like this is like we're sending away some loaded teams first and second. These have mid projections to them. So it's not because Koopa. Listen, buddy, I'm going to grade your trades on no scale. Like this is we're going to give you straight up grades. We have to hold you to that standard, but there's no way I don't want your side here, man. And I do know this. If Koopa's valuing what he's receiving to send away Geno Smith, I think that the process is going to make sense for Koopa's side most often because he values Geno very highly.
These two trades is why I was so like on tilt at him, because it involves a quarterback. It involves some of the same first round picks that he had offered to send and that I was countering and rejecting and, going back and forth, right? We just couldn't come to a deal.
Yep.
The crux of it, he really wanted the Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa stack in best ball. I got both of them. He wanted the stack. He wanted them. So in return, he was willing to give up CJ Stroud. And when I told him, I said, Stroud, Tua, it's a wash for me. Like it really is. He wanted the Tyreek Hill part. And I said, if you want the Tyreek Hill, like it's going to cost you first round picks.
Right.
It's going to cost you first round picks. I don't want junk back. Just give me picks. So we kind of settled on the 224 first is like what I told him I needed. He was like, no, one of them's going to be in 25. I said, okay, that's fine. 25. You got to pay the extra tax. So I sent him a deal. He sends one back where he wants Mike Evans now thrown into the deal. Okay, well, I don't really give a shit about Mike Evans, but he's at least something in best ball. Like, I'll throw him into the deal. I said, I'm giving up the stack. I have some swaps where it's like Tua, I value a little bit more than CJ Stroud.
Right.
I definitely would like 2 first rounds in 24 for Tyreek Hill if I'm going to give it up. I got the stack to think about. You're getting that bonus. So if I got to go down to one of them being in 25, like you got to get taxed. And now you want Mike Evans? So I sent him one back where it was like, you want the Mike Evans part, like you're going to throw in like Jackson Smith and Jigba to make up for all the other shit, right?
Nice.
Just as a thing. He's like, I got to walk away from this. I got to walk away. Even though like we probably could have got something done if he would have thrown in some of these seconds. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah,
throwing
yeah.
the seconds. But he's like, no, you crazy. It's too much to ask. And then I see him turn around. I trade a first and a second for Geno Smith, shittier quarterback than Tua. And then I go see him get a wide receiver that's not even in the realm of Tyreek Hill for Brandin Cooks, some seconds, and then he gets some junk back. And I go, what the hell are we doing? Like, how'd you go from like almost making a deal for Tua and Tyreek Hill and maybe Mike Evans to Calvin Ridley, Geno Smith?
Shake and bake.
Give up the same shit.
Just happened. What is this? A shake and bake? It's a nonsense. Shake and bake.
Whatever.
Shake and bake.
And then he goes, somehow my team got worse on the simulator. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. Who would have guessed?
Mike, here's the crazy part. We ain't done.
Oh, no.
The T-Rock show lives on. One more. Same league. Born to be wild. And T-Rock get a deal done here. So T-Rock this time is acquiring Jet McKinnon, Warp League winner last year, but getting older. Still on, we'll see. We'll see with Jet. Brandin Cooks, which can I say this? I had to show because of Fizzle, right? I had to show the trades in the order that Fizzles. Right. We start off with our own, but my deal was technically third.
How the hell did you get back Brandin Cooks?
I want everyone that's kind of really confused to understand. My deal was actually the third trade in this unison. Bang, bang, bang. These were all within like an hour of each other, but I had to show mine first. It's the way we start the show off. It's not going to change just because of what's going on with T-Rock here. So the Brandin Cooks that comes to me is acquired in this trade, right? So it's Jet McKinnon, Brandin Cooks, Trevor Lawrence, the 24th second from Born to be Wild, as well as the 24th third. Born to be Wild is receiving Justin Fields, Tyler Lockett, Marvin Mims, and Kenny Gainwell. Mike, what do you think about this deal here?
Lawrence and Fields. I know for a lot of people they probably heavily favor Lawrence. I'm a big Fields guy, man. Like I put these dudes right next to each other.
We can at least say we favor Lawrence, though. No.
Yes, I would say I probably favor Lawrence. Because
maybe not by a country mile like some people would, but
because market favors Lawrence. Yes,
right. But that and it's that way, and because of the market perception of the two for me as well, which is why I would put Lawrence a little ahead. It's not like if you tell me though I have to down tier to Justin Fields. Like, I'm happily picking up something probably way less than market in a best ball league like this to do it. But I'll take Lawrence 1-for-1.
So he gets a little bit of a little notch there. He got a nice win.
Yep.
Cooks and Lockett. I favor Lockett, but it's not by that much. You know, like Tyler Lockett is a lot like Brandin Cooks where they're just underappreciated regardless. Both of them go ridiculously low in ADP, both undervalued. I favor Lockett a little bit more.
I was going to ask. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I favor Lockett a little bit more just because we've seen him not have a bad year last year, unlike Brandin Cooks. Tyler Lockett was actually very, very good. So that one hurts a little bit, I guess. But, you know, you made up for it with the Lawrence and the Fields, I guess. So you can just wipe those pieces out, in my opinion. Well, the rest of this, like, I'm taking Jerick McKinnon over Kenneth Gainwell. And the second and the third for Marvin Mims is pretty easy to T-Rock. So he did win one, in my opinion. Like, out of all three, this is a trade he won that I would take his side, personally. I think he did an okay job here.
So I mean, when I look at this, right, I will say this. This might be a little hot takey, but, like, there's a part of me that actually – I think I'd rather have Brandin Cooks than Lockett just because the situations change a lot. And Lockett, here's the thing with Lockett, right? I love him, by the way. I'm very happy with him in best ball teams. But his perception to me, Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to have to start very, very slow for the market of Tyler Lockett to do anything but go down.
I get you.
So for me, like Brandin Cooks, I think is already at, unless Brandin Cooks gets hurt, like I don't think there's a scenario where he's not going to be solid next year. Like, I'm not going to say he's league winning. So for me, I think it's the crescendo of Cooks is going to have to rise, and Lockett I think could tread water. Like he's right now Keep Trade Cut has him 47 and 56. The way I'm thinking about it, it's close enough. Go ahead.
We got to find a league where
1-for-1.
Let's do it. And you got Tyler Lockett, man.
We can do it straight up. I'll make that swap
I get
too.
you though. I think they're very, very close. I just like I said, I prefer Lockett. You prefer Brandin Cooks.
I would put them in rankings, which I need to update, by the way, in the same tier though. And I think as you get in best ball, there's going to be a jumbled tier where, like these guys for me though, in a reality, in a deal 1-for-1, I lean Cooks, but they're the same tier. So when you tell me, like you're saying, if we're going to cross out Cooks, I want T-Rock's side here pretty easy, man.
Right. I do keep my rankings somewhat updated, and you ain't wrong. I had to look, and I was like, I don't even remember where I ranked these two. One at 48 and one at 50. So, yeah, same tier. You can't get too much closer.
You can, but it's by one player.
They're wedged in with Jacoby Myers Love, who I'd also just throw into the same tier of same dudes.
Love it. So, T-Rock, there you go. I'm still going to call this, though, Mike. Here's the crazy part, though.
Right.
This is, I think, why I wanted to put this one also last. One, I wanted Mike to lean into the hate. But two, see, this is part of where when you grade trades all at once, I wasn't going to put 3 on the screen. It would just look too jumbled.
Right.
But when you think about totality, what he did, Mike, see, the problem is now, and this is why we talk about winning 60% of trades, or you don't have to win every one, but if you're winning like roughly 60%, it doesn't matter about the losses. The problem here is we already know that the part of the reason you won this trade is because of the Cooks thing, right? Like you got Cooks probably at a discount from Born to be Wild who wanted to go to Lockett, and that gap really isn't that wide, if at all. You trade Brandin Cooks in a 25 first and a 24 second to basically go Calvin Ridley. This totally nukes your win over here.
Right.
Like that's I think one illustration for everybody watching. When you look right in a unison of trades and these are all in the same league, which we don't get to do that very often, where it's 3 trades, same league, back to back to back,
within a week too, right? Like
2 hours. Within 2 hours, these trades happened.
I'm just saying in general, like it all fit in one trade show because 100%. It all happened. Right? We did pull these from 3 weeks ago, and they were spaced out. These were
correct, legit. All on the same week, but see, that's where if you're not like. I hope you see all the market of all the stuff was happening. You're thinking best ball and the principles and that. But one of the things is when you look at, if you look at like, let's say your transaction trades, and we're talking in the last, few months, you can add them up and see like, how am I doing overall, right? Like everyone is going to have losses on certain trades. Like that's just inevitable. Even if you thought it was a win at the time, market changes, injuries happen, things change. You're not going to win every one. But if you look back and you start compiling these trades together and you're winning 60% and your value is stacking overall, even though it may go down, if it's continuing to stack up, that's where it's good. Where, your one win, you nuke and you have a total loss in 3 trades. That's a little different story. So, T-Rock, if you want to know why your thing went down in the League Simulator, there was 25 minutes of why. Anyway.
It was. And just think about it, man. He could have had a team with Trevor Lawrence and Tua and Tyreek Hill and Jerick McKinnon and
why would you want
Cooks. Instead of the junk he's got? Whatever.
Mike, last week we decided that Goatrings lost a ring, and
he did.
If you notice, I just called him Goatrings, and right because I got to decide, Mike. 10-team Superflex PPR best ball start 11. Shout out to Fizzle Dollars. If you're watching this and you Rap It All, you gotta go check out the new album. Go check out the new album.
Listen, I am not bullshitting when I said I've probably listened to that album on repeat at least 15 times. And as a totality, that's not even including the songs where I just go, yeah, I got to hear that one again, right? I'm out there fucking with that song, Me. It's so good. And then I'm like, this is it. This is the last. This is it. This is the one on the album. Because he even asked me, he was like, what's your favorite song? I was like, it's this one or this one. And then I get to the end and I'm like, all right, this one's grown. This one's grown. I changed my mind. It's a great album. Fizzle killed it. So go check out his albums on Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff.
I like it a lot. And Mike, I had a 5-hour back and forth trip this weekend to Louisville. And let's just say I know for a fact, I don't know how many people are listening, but I'm contributing to plays because about 3.5 to 4 hours of the 5 were because I had to put some podcasts on. I had to catch up on some pods from DD. But outside of that, it was all Fizzle's new album. Which, by the way, speaking of DD, Destination Devy is one of the songs on.
The song is so good, man.
So go check that out.
I'm biased because it's our song Fizzle made for us. Like it's the coldest in the game, and then I heard that one, and I'm like, son of a bitch. And this is exactly what Ray said when he heard our song that Fizzle did.
He was like, you can't have the better song. Yep. And
it's like we're gonna keep one up at each. Man, Fizzle just keeps topping himself. He's incredible.
Now here's the crazy part: is the album more heat or is this trade more heat?
Oh, this trade's more heat. Fizzle pays attention to my Twitter. He knows what I'm talking about. I've been on this train for a long time.
You know what's crazy is apparently he now this might have been not the first time that he did this trade. Because apparently I said on one of the trade shows that like Richardson and Fields, like they're basically very close in market. Some people have Richardson ahead. Go try it. You might be able to get it done. Here it is, man. Fizzle Dollars on the trade show acquiring Fields. I'll say this, especially because it's 10-team. Like I think they're so similar in the way they're going to score points that I do believe that Fields is safer. As crazy as that's going to sound for people that are very in on the Richardson hype. And I listen, if you've tuned into some of the stuff. If you haven't, go check it out. I put a way too much time into some A-Rich thumbnails. The Lil Wayne No Ceilings one. I'm very in on Richardson, and I've been trying to add to the hype. But this is where I think it has to come to a little bit of a stop. I'm not putting him ahead. I'm not anointing him ahead of Fields when we know nothing about what he's going to be on the NFL field. That's my thing.
Listen, this is the Spider-Man gif with them pointing at each other, but one of them's wearing an NFL jersey and's already done it. So that's always going to be the tiebreaker. When you think about it, too, just think about this as a whole, man. People have concerns. Is Fields going to be there, in the future, whatever. From a fantasy perspective, he put up a fantastic season.
QB5 in most scoring.
And he was horrible for
4 weeks. 4 weeks. He was quarterback 31 through 4 weeks and finished the year as quarterback 5.
They talk about it. We haven't seen him do it through the air. The Bears don't pass a lot. I've had multiple arguments over and over about Bears pass attempts. All of this.
Sure. But you know who hasn't done it through the air even in college?
Anthony Richardson. And that's what I was going to say. At least in college, I saw Justin Fields have a prolific air attack in college.
The weapons are very different, but can we at least say that
right?
A-Rich is a very unpolished passer, and you can't tell me that I want A-Rich's arm over Fields. I like A-Rich's arm. I think there's a lot of talent to be unlocked, but we got to admit he's still a project as a passer. I think he can totally hit, but I also think I'm not saying Fields has already shown to me some pros in the passing game, and we know last year you can look at all the metrics, but if you're telling me that your number one weapon is Cole Kmet, who's not a separator and a big body tight end, how great do you expect passing numbers to be?
If you tell me your number one weapon is a tight end and it's not named Travis Kelce
or Kyle Pitts, maybe because Kyle Pitts is basically a receiver.
Maybe Mark Andrews.
Right? Yeah, there you go.
If you tell me that's your number one weapon and it doesn't include those 3 tight ends, you're in a bad situation, man. It's probably not good for you.
And let's admit, even Cole Kmet's not George Kittle he's not some of these other tight ends. He's much down the list. So
listen, he hopes he could carry Pat Fryermuth's jockstrap.
Wow!
For Christ's sakes,
wow! There's a quote. I don't know if you've seen some of these quotes floating around on Twitter. You get just the picture and the quote. Right. I think we might need to draw one of those up. All right. He can hold Pat Fryermuth's jockstrap. Wow!
He hopes he'd be lucky to carry Pat Fryermuth's jockstrap.
I might have to do that one. I may have to put that in air quotes. Let's go.
What do they do, man? I argued it in the.
Let me ask you. This is the one
6
question
hours.
I do have, though. Here's the one question I do have, because it's not really a question, but I think we need to talk it out because people may be calling us, hypocritical here. Because for some people, they're going to say, well, they're the same tier, and you're getting the plus. Here's my thing.
They're not for me, but
I can understand you saying that, but here's my thing about. Let me say one exception to that rule, right? For the process play. Let's even say you put him in the same tier, because for me right now, Mike, I put him close, but I do put Fields enough with experience where I would put him in a separate tier, but I'd say they're maybe 1-to-1, back and back, neck and neck in the rankings for me. But I'm not putting them in the same tier. But even if you're saying they're the same tier for me, these assets are way too high, and there's too much risk on the Richardson side for me to let a third in a league like this, which is 10-team, which is all about the studs, going to be why I take the plus, right? I think that's, let me say it in the way that I want to word it that's not making people upset. If you're talking about assets that are these high, we're talking first round, now even in 10-team they come down, second round, third round startup picks, right? You're talking about assets that high. The third round pick is not going to be the plus in that same tier, right? As the players come down the board, the tier, the plus needs to make sense if you think that there's a significantly much higher risk on one side than the other, if that makes sense. Right. This is not enough of a plus to make me say the risk is warranted here, right? If this plus is a different thing, we're having a different conversation.
If it was the second, would you want the A-Rich side?
I think we're having more of a conversation, but to be honest, I don't think still in 10-team I'm for sure taking it. I think it's a lot more of a discussion than it is currently a third.
The only thing that kind of saves it for me about the 10-team part is it's best ball. So that second could actually be a reasonable piece in best ball.
And I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that it's a bad deal for Goatrings at all there, but I could actually make a case I still think for Fields, but there we're having a real conversation. Like, okay, if you want to take the down tier for a second, cool, I get it. Right now in the third, no way, man, no.
When I do ranks, like I've also had to talk about this. Like I also think about how I would draft, and part of how I draft is for value, and I draft based on my personal feelings, but also like market value is also a big consideration in it. And it's this constant battle back and forth because there are players I think are overvalued as shit, but I go, man, I got to rank them here because everyone else says they're ranked. Let's just say though, for Justin Fields, right? Let's live in the hypothetical world where people didn't hate him, and I'm not out there having to like fight off the horde like Jon Snow against Justin Fields all the time. Adam, if you told me that happened, and like people are in on Justin Fields, I would rank him stupid high.
Of course.
Stupid high. Like number 5, Justin Herbert, sit your ass down. Justin Fields is acquiring that spot.
I wouldn't have said you were going to go that high, but I will say I do believe you. I'm not saying that you wouldn't.
Yeah, I get you.
Let me say this.
Saying, but because there's that pushback all the time, and I go, well, if I were to take Justin Fields over a Justin Herbert, right, and live by my conviction of how I feel, I also open myself up to the fact that maybe I can't ever trade Justin Fields because people don't value him the same way. So that always plays in. So when people go, well, you have him at 8. Well, I have him at 8 because market tells me that I have to have him at 8, right? Because if I take him at 5, people go, you're crazy. You're insane. I'm not trading you QB5 prices ever for Justin Fields. Get the hell out of my mentions. And now I'm stuck with a player.
Let's talk real quick, though, because 10 team does change it, and even in best ball, right? So the reality is, let's say it's a second again. Let's put a player to it, because this is why I'm saying no still, Mike. But maybe you'll say yes, and maybe this will give more context to people where it needs to go to the second. Like, would you take the second in this trade?
I think if it was A-Rich in a second, we'd have a more serious conversation.
I agree with the conversation, but I'm trying to put more context to it. So let me ask you this, because when we say
let's just say if I was the Fields owner, I'd probably look at him and tell him no. But it's to the point where if I was the A-Rich owner and the second came in, I'd be like, okay.
Well, let's put a name to it, because here's the thing, right? Second and 10 team is going to be more devalued than it will be in the 12 team, right? So like you're looking at better players, but you're also looking at quarterbacks not going as high probably. Like Levis probably doesn't come into the conversation really where he does.
Right.
Probably the tight ends get pushed down the board more. Like there's a very real situation where the best case in like a late second for you is you're like, let me just stack A-Rich and Downs. So does that interest you for a Fields? Because I think that's what we're having a conversation of. That's where I'm trying to say, unless it's an early one, and we talk about what a 24 can mean, you might be able to buy something in flexibility, like you have this liquidity. But here's the thing, man. Like in season, like you may only get a Josh Downs type value, and that's not enough in a 10-team league, because think about the economy in this league. People are going to want to stack up higher teams because there's less taking the player pool apart. To me, the second isn't quite enough, but I'm with you where I'm thinking. I'm just not there yet.
I think about 12-team best balls with 35-man rosters, and I think about, like I'd like to have a Josh Downs on my team, but I want him as like my 28th, my 29th, my 30th player on my roster.
Right. He better be my wide receiver 7, 8, 9, right?
In 10-team leagues, he's more like if you think about it, he's more in that range of like the 31st, 32nd, 33rd player on your roster, and that's the dudes I'm churning over and over for the waiver wires. So, yes, I get.
And when you think about
important.
To that same point, when you think about now that there's 10 teams and we're picking the best players from the 10 teams, it's now, I think, it's less likely that Downs is cracking lineups in 10 teams again. So that's where, for me, it's like
more condensed. It's harder to do.
Exactly. So I think it's still light for a second, but we're having a conversation.
That does bring up a good point too. Like I would like to do a spike week, consistency week chart that I have, but tighten the restrictions even more for like 10-team best balls, because there are more and more people who can find 10 people to get in, or 9 other people in play in a league with. So I'd like to see how much it changes, see if it really matters, because there's going to be some of these wide receivers and running backs were just complete zeros, right? They would never make a lineup.
Speaking of Fields, we got another one. And you know what? I had to put Fizzle and Goatrings deal on there. It's just too fire and too many, it had to be on the show next. Right. But I wanted to have a full feature lineup of like Mike's ready to hate on these managers. I would have liked to just gone mellow and then seen if I could get a rip trade in there and went full Mike hate. But we got a mellow trade up it's Watson, Goddard, and Brandin Ayuk he's acquiring while sending away, speaking of Pat Freiermuth, Justin Fields, and one Cam Akers. 12-team Superflex start 11, Mike. I don't know as much about the specifics of this league, but it's a 32-league copy. It's called the Ring of Fire on Sleeper. So I can pull up the warp and stuff if we want to, but let me just ask you, 12-team Superflex start 11, where are you at on this trade? And do you know much about this Ring of Fire specifics on the league?
The only thing I really know about this one is me trying to talk Mello out of doing it in the Discord and then him doing it anyways. And now I see why.
Well, that has nothing to do with the Ring of Fire. That's just in general, right? Can we just say that?
Well, now I see why when you do team reviews with him, shout out to him because he said the Savage tier.
I love
why
Mello,
it takes
by
like
the way.
3 hours because it's like pulling teeth sometimes.
Hold
Listen,
on.
man,
I need to stop you on that note because Mello was like, you put me down for a team review. So I'm in a team review with Jag. And I'm trying to help Jag, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing Mello, and he's sitting in the chat right there, like he's watching. And I'm like, all right, Mello, like, you took over this orphan. Like, you need to rebuild. Let's see if we can make you guys have a deal that makes sense. From that point till 3 hours later, he's fighting me.
Right.
Jag has gone to sleep. His team review is not only over, he's out of the chat.
It's done.
And he's mad that I put him down for a team review when we spent – Jag didn't even get one. He like 20 minutes of Jag's review. And then 3 hours of Mello's review fighting me, and he's telling me it wasn't his review. It was Jag's review.
Poor Jag.
Sorry, Mello. You know I love you, by the way, but continue, Mike. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to put that in there.
The thing was, like, he's trading from a position of power with his quarterbacks, right? So he had 3 elite ones. He
right,
did.
right.
I think he had, like, Burrow, Mahomes, or
and Fields, right?
or something like that. And then,
Mm-hmm.
So he had 3 of them. And he's like, well, nobody wants to trade for Justin Fields. Like, they won't give me the offers that I want. He's got what we talked about on 40 Chess. Like, he's got that elite QB horde at the top.
Right. He's got 3 of the top guaranteed 10, even if you don't like Fields. Top 12 for sure. So
listen, I will say
it's not even necessarily a horde, but you have leverage that you can't. Someone has to come to you for that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't know all this when we first asked to trade, and he asked to trade, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's probably fine for Fields. Like, Watson, Fields, okay, I get it. Akers, Ayuk, I'd probably rather have Ayuk for sure, and I'd definitely rather have Dallas Goedert than Pat Freiermuth. Like, it's okay, like, to take the little bit of the downgrade. And then he puts the context, like, I have these 3 quarterbacks, and I'm like, wait here. Like, as the guy who loves the QB horde and infinitely passionate about it, who just did an episode on it, there is no way in hell I'm giving up the leverage of Fields, Mahomes, and Burrow and trading off Justin Fields for just this. Just like, I will never do it. I don't want the Watson part back. I want to go to a real shitty quarterback or like just the third guy who doesn't matter, but I'm going to tax the shit out of you at the other spots. And he goes, well, nobody likes to trade for Fields in this league. I've tried. I said, okay, well, perfect. Then try the other 2. Like Mahomes or Joe Burrow will fetch you a haul. No, I'm not trading them. So I'm fighting him back and forth. And then what's he do? He just goes ahead and makes the deal. So I will say this. I'll be completely fair. On the surface, the deal is fine. But you want my actual opinion on what I have and what I've seen. You gave up all your leverage just because you wanted to get off of Justin Fields for a couple of minor upgrades. And for that, I hate it. I hate giving up the QB leverage like that. I will not do that.
Interesting. Here's what I'll say. I like Watson quite a bit, and I know there's risk with Fields. One thing that was interesting to me, though, Mike, and may talk to this league and the scoring, Fields was only 12 in warp. Now, I'm not saying that's really bad, but like, given that he rushed like a maniac last year, and we talked about he started really bad, I would have expected that to be higher. And I'm looking at who's ahead, and it's like Cousins, and like when I'm looking at Brady, this is a league that has juice scoring to the passer. Geno's quarterback 5.
Get you.
So that might be some of the dynamics where I'm with you. I'm thinking when I look at this trade, I'm going to fight Mello too. What are we doing? Like, because you're talking if you have 3 of the top 8, like I'm fine going to Watson, but I need a better upgrades than these, right? Like I like Goddard quite a bit, but I don't know. I'm kind of limp already. Like going from Freiermuth to Goddard, like I want it, but it's not a game changer for me in the quarterback space. And you know my love for Akers. I'll still take Ayuk ahead of him, but it's not like I'm wanting to sell Akers real bad. The only thing I will say is maybe, given his roster construction, Mello, I'm trying here because we want to tell you he didn't get enough. Maybe given his roster construction and knowing that how the market shapes around the scoring of the league, maybe it's very juiced to passers, and I can see where you say Watson is a really good passer and we expect him in a full year to be a better player. That's my best analysis I can give on why you would maybe do this. I just think, Mike, to your point, when I have Fields as my quarterback 3, like, what's my risk really, right? That's the thing. If you're telling me that you're really worried about Fields and you know the scoring and he's like a staple in your lineup, all right, I get it a little more. What's your risk? What if Fields is better with DJ Moore? What if his market ends up coming to what his actual like draft position is in startups, and you have those other 2 quarterbacks? I still like Watson quite a bit, so it's not like it'd be awful, but like I think you can get more of pluses than Goddard and Brandin Ayuk. As much as I like them, they're not positional advantages, right? What you gain doesn't mean enough to me in Warp when we're starting 11 players in its lineup. So that's my problem.
I get it. One of the things, too, it's not like Deshaun is a pure passer. Now, maybe as he transitions into the later part of his career, maybe he becomes that. But a lot of like what we love Deshaun Watson is his ability to kind of be that dual threat as well, especially around the goal line, create plays. Right. He can throw the ball. And at this point, do you trust Deshaun Watson more as a passer than Justin Fields? 100%. But I also agree, too. Like some of my Fields love comes into play where it goes, this was a historically bad pass offense. It was almost, if you look on a scale, a complete outlier because it hasn't happened to that degree of bad in a long time. Mm-hmm. And what they do, they went out and they made a trade for a top-flight wide receiver, and they improved their offensive line. Their 2 biggest weaknesses on offense last year, and I go, even if they get close, they don't even have to be league average, but even if they get close, what could Fields' production look like? Instead of throwing the ball, 22 times a game, what if it's closer to 30? Another 7 or 8 attempts. That really sets Justin Fields up for a lot of success. So to make the swap, I get it. The Watson thing, and maybe warp-wise, Watson, if you think about Watson being 2020 Deshaun Watson the last time we saw him.
Right. Yes. He would be much higher, right?
Like a QB5. I just pulled it up here, which is another great thing about the Warp tool is you can go back and look at historical. In 2020, his last full year, QB5 in Warp. So, yes, a little bit higher than what Justin Fields was as QB12 last year. But, like, the leverage thing just chides me. It drives the dagger in, and I get it. If there's not a market, this is one of the things about the QB Horde. If there's not a market for a particular quarterback you're trying to move off of, then go to a quarterback that there is a market for and see what you can get. Like, I guarantee if you put Joe Burrow up on the block with where he probably scored in Warp and what he actually scored in fantasy points per game, you'd have all kinds of suitors where you can get pieces back that are much better than Dallas Goedert and Brandin.
I got to make 2 points on the pluses, too, real quick. I'm shouting out the Warp tool, and, I mean, we're going to get comments, Mike. Why are we talking about this trade for so long?
Right.
I'm happily going to just take it and tell me you hate it. That's okay. So the difference in Warp last year between Goddard and Freiermuth is 0.1.
Negligible.
No, I mean, they draft Darnell Washington. I don't really think it's that big of a deal for Freiermuth. I mean, to me, I don't think it is. Whatever you think about that and what the difference is between him and Goddard, it's just not enough. Here's the other thing when you look at Warp, right? And now we'll talk about market for a second before I do this, but when you can filter out the lines, right? You look at receiver and running back. In this league, Mike, this is one of those leagues where running back, not only neck and neck, running back actually stays ahead. Running back is ahead of – so, for example, the top 2 running backs, Jacobs and Eckler, outscored in Warp Justin Jefferson.
Oh, that's hard to do, too, because Justin Jefferson had an
great season relative to the wide receivers, right? So then you're looking at Tyreek Hill 1.88. You're talking McCaffrey 2.18 at running back 3. Henry ahead of him at 1.99.
I was told running backs are dead.
But see, this is where Warp is great given what your leagues are, right? And I think
filter out the shit, yes.
And there's so much you can do with them. But what I'm seeing here, Mike, and this is my thing about Akers and Ayuk, and you know I like Ayuk. And I have seen his market's been getting increasingly hot. But here's the thing. If you know what, I'm going to do it because I need to. And I know people are very out in polarized. Like they're very up and down. They're either in or they're out on Acres. But Mike, here's when I pull up Acres, and I just did it for the final few weeks because I had to know.
Had to know, man. I bet he's elite.
Cam Akers is running back 4 in the weeks that matter, 13 to 17 in this league. Now, I understand you may not say that he's going to do that for the year.
Projected for a whole year.
Right,
Yeah,
and you're going to say you're not sure, but all they did was bring in Zach Evans, which is lower than the pick they used on Kyron Williams, which did nothing to Cam Akers. Darrell Henderson's sitting on the couch. He can join the show anytime he wants. I see a scenario where what you netted isn't even worth making this trade, other than the fact that unless you truly believe that Watson is a better player than Fields is in this league, which I don't yet.
At the very least, like Brandon, he probably hovers around that wide receiver 15 to 24 range.
And he's 20.
And Warp tells you running backs are equal to those at the very least, if not superseding them in the same range. And let's just think about it, man. Even if you don't project Cam Akers to be elite, like if I told you Cam Akers finishes as RB18 next year, nobody's going to bat an eye. You're like, oh, yeah, well, what was that in points per game? Well, Melo made this trade because he said he's trying to go back-to-back and compete. Does it really matter, man? Like, I'll give up a little dynasty value to stay neutral here. And if I'm trading basically the same player at best case scenario,
what you get, what you're winning in this market, you're winning in the market. That's it.
You're
right?
You're winning the market. You're winning the market. But when you bring Warp into it, Adam, if I'm looking at ceiling, the ceiling,
Akers is a higher one,
right? Like if Cam Akers finished at RB6 or 7, right? I'm not even projecting him for top 5. But 6 or 7 isn't that high of a benchmark. I mean, we're talking last year, that's like Nick Chubb, who's completely fine, but it was a bad year for Nick Chubb. Tony Pollard in warp-wise.
You know what that equals in this league last year, too, in wide receiver? Right. It's Tyreek Hill.
Elite.
Tyreek Hill.
So, yeah. That's kind of the point, which I get it, where you factor in Warp and you look at it in a bag and you go, all right, Akers, Fields, yeah, I'll take that side. Just another kick in the teeth for Melo. So horrible deal, Melo. I hate
Melo, wow. I think Mike said it best. We're just going to go on to the next trade because Mike said it best. Melo, I hate you. I can't even. I love you, Melo. We do too. But all right, let's get into another Brandin Cooks deal. So, Mike, we had a awesome Savage semester. There were hats. There was all kinds of things. Mike and I, you probably thought we're not going to have a show ever again. We're best friends. That's what we do. We fight. We even lean into it more because people are excited, and we're okay.
The more vodka I have, the more I'm willing to lean into it too.
I mean, Mike, come on. Let's keep it real too. We had done like 6 shows that week. It was Thursday. Right. It was late, and I was just sick of you. And
that's fair. That's fair. Like I love you to death, but there are times where I'm like, I'm tired of seeing you.
I'm gonna go drive to Louisville and get away from this guy for a weekend. We'll come back and be better on Monday.
I would like to look at my wife and kids more.
I don't even know. Are we doing a trade show?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Hold on. But really, though, right? We talked about how, and the argument was kind of juvenile, but it got crazy with Juju. But we're talking about brought buys, Juju and Brandin Cooks in certain teams. And, Mike, I think Brandin Cooks especially, not saying Juju isn't a buy in best ball, because if you get him at the right price, I'm in. Here's the thing. Brandin Cooks going to that offense, which is much more similar as far as being fantasy efficient as it was for Brandin Cooks in earlier teams in his career. Now, Brandin Cooks isn't necessarily the same receiver he was at 24 years old, but I think he's still got a lot of juice left. And, Mike, in lineup leagues, right? Look at what you're giving up here, man. This is Brandin Cooks for those who can't see because you're on podcast. Brandin Cooks for, Mike, I don't even know who the first name is for D. Harty, to be honest with you.
Deontay.
Okay. Well, I should say I don't know how to spell it.
That's right. I don't know if it's a EONT.
Yeah, right. I've seen it before.
I have a hard time because there's so many Deontays, and I always inevitably fuck them up on how they're actually spelled right. Like one of my favorite Deontays, like DION.
TAE, yeah, because it's right. Deontay Johnson.
But then you think about Devontae Adams.
Yep. Are we capitalizing letters? I don't know what I'm doing. But the point is, Deontay Harty,
I don't know,
a 24 third and a 24 4. So first and foremost, Deontay Harty is not only a roster clogger, he is so far beyond what that means in lineup start 11.
Right. He's like that speculative waiver wire ad, but on the Warp tool, if you were to look at roster construction, he would definitely be in the droppable category where you just churn and burn.
Right.
Churn and burn.
And then the 24 fourth is honestly in lineup leagues, like I'm happily
Trash.
moving fourths. Now thirds is a little bit different conversation
Correct.
because you might be able to move them for something real. The problem is if you get stuck holding that pick, like we already know it's negative warp really when if you have to hold it and make the selection a year from now. Mike, let's even say that that 24 third in the league economy will get you something, a spot start for a week or two from a running back.
Correct.
I'll argue this, Mike. I think that Brandin Cooks for this price is worth taking the shot on. Because could he end up in a roster clogger range? Yes. But I also believe that he could at least be threshold and might be decent enough in a start 11, which might have 2 flexes, 3 flexes. Like you may find yourself, especially come bye weeks. Think about this for a second, everyone in lineups. For the first 5, 6, whatever it is, what is the first bye week now, Mike? Is it 7?
I believe so. I believe it is week 7.
Yeah, so I believe it's like what happens is the first month, people get so comfortable, man, because the injuries aren't as rampant. There's not as many, and these teams that are very top heavy without depth, they're resting on their laurels. I'm good,
man.
All of a sudden, week 7, boom, bye weeks hit, right?
You got a starter out, and you got another dude on bye, and you go, holy shit, what am I putting into my lineup?
And then, unfortunately, as much as we don't want it to happen, injuries mount, right? And they start to become more and more glaring as you have 2, 3, 4 teams that are on bye, and you realize, oh my gosh, I don't have a quarterback this week, or I have 1 quarterback this week. Brandin Cooks for me is worth every bit of this price in any league format, to be completely honest with you. Even lineup start 9, I would pay this.
Okay. I will say this, just generically, if I think about normal scoring, Brandin Cooks for Hardy, the 3rd and the 4th. Hardy doesn't mean shit for me in lineup. Best ball, I'd be a little bit more interested because there's a chance he could win that slot role.
Random Buffalo. 1 week where Josh Allen throws him a touchdown.
Right, like that's fine. The 3rd and the 4th. In reality, it's just a 3rd and some juice for Brandin Cooks. Would I pay a 3rd for Brandin Cooks in a lineup start 11 normal scoring? I would say you could have a conversation, right? Like, is my 3rd better spent on maybe buying that running back when I need it, or a guy like Brandin Cooks who I may or may not be able to slide into my flex? He's completely fine, and I'm with you, Adam. I think I probably lean the Brandin Cooks, but I think it's a conversation. Here's the kicker, though. When I look up his league and I look up his scoring and I look up WARP, from wide receiver 16 on, it is not a conversation.
It's over everything that includes quarterback.
So, I mean, if you talk about, even if you're like, well, Brandin Cooks is a wide receiver.
Can he be Zay Jones last year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Zay Jones is 1.08 WARP.
Not even that, Adam. If he's fucking Mac Hollins, Alan Lazard. Still better than every other correlated position in the entire league.
Can I give you some names real quick that
yes
you'll be shocked at for a second?
Right.
All right.
Go for it.
Okay, so wide receiver 33, Tyler Boyd, 0.58.
Okay.
Wide receiver 34, Curtis Samuel, 0.58. Can he have those type of seasons?
Yeah, easy.
You know who's right next to him at 35 is Deebo Samuel. And on the right on the other end is Jerry Jeudy.
Right.
So if you're telling me
you got a Donovan Peoples-Jones there as finishing out your bottom end wide receiver 3, yeah.
Let me tell you,
I'm in.
Scott, we're airing this on Monday. You'll see it on Saturday, so it's a little early. Trying to work out the kinks of scheduling, but
right.
Today, Scott's new Destination Dynasty drop. Mike, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the whole thing, but
I did not. My car went in the shop. So for those of you who don't know, my Mustang's getting a Pro Charger, right? That baby's going to 800 horsepower because, I like speed. But anyways, it went to the shop, so I'm driving the piece of shit winter beater that I've kept around just for this moment. And that does not have, all the Bluetooth and the fancy things where I can sync
the
my
connectivity.
Spotify. Right? So I'm listening to old school radio, which sucks. I hate it. I think tomorrow.
How are those ads going, by the way?
Yeah, they're horrible. I think tomorrow when I drive to and from work, I'll probably just turn the radio off and just turn my phone all the way up, and hopefully I'll be able to hear.
Try to lean it on something so it echoes.
Yes, yeah. I have not listened to Scott yet because I'm driving a shitty car.
one of the best things I think he mentioned is something we actually talk about, Mike, but Scott just says it a little more eloquently and more concisely.
Yes.
And he's talking about how in these lineup leagues especially, and I think this is a great example of this. Right now, his example is more so you have a team that's really good, and it's like lineup start 9, 10. This is 11. I think it really fits the same principles. And he's basically like, okay, you got this team, right? And it's really good, and you're built right. But the reality is you want to go sell your wide receiver 6 or 7. And he's trying not to use names, but he's basically saying, like, for example, it's Mike Evans, let's say.
Right.
And his I'm sorry, not Mike Evans, Mike Williams. So Mike Williams, economy isn't great in a lineup league. Now, he's probably realistically better off on your team, and you put him in some of those weeks, and you get the boom week with Justin Herbert, especially given they drafted Quentin Johnson. But aside from the player analysis, like, you put him on the market, you're not going to get anything crazy. No one's coming first and giving you some insane price on him, right?
No.
But let's say you're wide receiver 5 now on that same team as Jerry Jeudy. The reality is most people don't want to sell Jerry Jeudy, but relative to if you put Mike Williams on the block and you get a second, but if somehow you can get Jeudy on the block, and let's say it's not even next year, but it's 25 first, you're so much better off really taking that the win and the extra piece on a 25 first and what that can buy you, and having the Mike Williams than what you have Jerry Jeudy. Because there's a scenario where they're not that much different in warp. Now, if you really believe in the player of Jerry Jeudy versus what you do in Mike Williams, maybe you go against the process. But the reality is you are better off keeping Williams in that economy and selling Jeudy because of this. This is exactly that point to me, except for you're buying and having an idea of selling something else, because that's, I think, the biggest point for me in this. And the way he worded it is just better than probably what I ever have tried to do. But I'd rather have Brandin Cooks as my wide receiver 4, 5, 6, maybe not 4, but 5, 6, 7, right, on a team and lineup like this, and then sell off. See, because if I can buy Brandin Cooks for a third, a fourth, and Hardy, but I can sell a Jeudy, a Debo, something like that for a first, right, I'm cooking with gas. Now I have totally different assets to play with, and I also have maybe not the same exact player, but similar roster construction and range of outcomes for a Brandin Cooks, realistically. That's, I think, what's so great about it.
For me, I use like receivers that I have vastly different opinions on, but they're vastly different markets, right? Everybody doesn't really seem to care about Brandin Cooks. This trade kind of throws it in, other than, we're talking about him and hyping him up a little bit. But, I mean, you're talking similar production. I mean, what's the difference between him and Hollywood Brown? And I'm not the biggest Hollywood Brown guy, but I guarantee there might be 1 or 2 people in my league who go, yeah, I got a late first, I'll give you a Hollywood Brown. Or I got 2 seconds. I'll give you 2 seconds for your Hollywood Brown. I'm never going to fetch that for Brandin Cooks.
It's the same concept as what we talked about with Williams and Jeudy, because Hollywood's younger, and he has, for whatever reason, a truther fan base, right?
Because he's got the laser eye picture.
And he's now the one on an offense where no one wants Kyler. They don't want to touch Kyler, right?
No.
But guess what Brandin Cooks is? Coming off the worst year of his career, and he's almost 30.
Right.
But the warp is they could be very similar, if not Brandin Cooks arrow up. I mean, that might be crazy to say, but it's not. I bet you range of outcomes wise, if you ran it 100 times, he could outscore him more than once. And point is, for what they cost, it doesn't matter. Like, you'd rather have Brandin Cooks than what you would have if you could sell off Hollywood for that first type player. And that I think is the biggest thing that can be lost in a lineup league is, as much as you hate Cooks, if you can buy him for this, which is almost free, it's not, but it's close. Right. You're better off having that and then selling one of your assets, which you don't have to start weekly.
1,000%. I'm with you. Good deal, Schumer. Love it.
Great job, Schumer. And I like Schumer. I'm starting to get close enough with him where I don't have to love all his deals, by the way. Schumer. 12-team Superflex PPR lineup, start 10, no tight end premium, Dynasty and Friends. Mike. So Tyler Lorenz is getting Alvin Kamara, Cooper Kupp, Nick Chubb, 24 second, 25 second. Sending away Miles Sanders, Michael Pittman, your boy Antonio Gibson, and Najee Harris. Mike, when I look, one of these things is not the same as the other, and I'll let you talk about what that one is and what it isn't.
I mean, there's a lot of pieces in here where I could talk glowingly about, right? There's a lot of good.
But we also don't need to, right?
Right. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of junk. There's really no junk in this deal at all.
Well, even in picks and players, there's not. It's
right.
Because we're talking seconds. I guess if you think that 25 seconds junk, maybe, but that's not junk to me.
We can just start right at the top, man. Nick Chubb over Najee Harris. As much as I love Najee, it's Nick Chubb.
100%.
Cooper Kupp over Michael Pittman. As much as I love Michael Pittman, the range of outcomes on Cooper Kupp outscoring the shit out of Michael Pittman is probably pretty good.
Real quick, though, Mike, because this is one of those where I pull up the warp, and I got to talk about Cooper Kupp and warp here for a second. By the way, southharmonff.com / I can't even think at this point to warp. And you go to that, it's $6.90 a month, but I will tell you it is worth every penny, because when you look at a league like this, like the wide receiver one, the running back one, and the quarterback one all are the same warp. They cover each other. And to tell me, like, I'm getting Cooper Kupp in this deal, because here's, I think, the craziest part to me about this, especially when I look at warp. You're getting the spot start buys and the flexibility down here, but the Cooper Kupp thing could outweigh every piece in this trade. Cooper Kupp for 1 year, could be the best player in warp by a country mile. Could be.
Yeah.
Not guaranteed, but could be, right? But if he's not, you got the seconds to go buy a Miles Sanders, to go buy an Antonio Gibson. You package them together, you definitely get one of those guys.
Yeah, this is stupid.
This is ridiculous, man. And when you look at the warp, how it flattens out for receiver, not that I wouldn't want a Pittman in this league, but it's so different. I would take the risk on Cooper Kupp every time here.
This is one of those deals too where, like, you can see the top is going for the youth, the value of youth.
Oh God! I hope we're not going youth with Gibson and Najee and
right, but it's still youth, because if you look at it,
True.
Gibson compared to Kamara is younger. Najee compared to Chubb, Najee's younger.
Right.
Pittman definitely younger than Cooper Kupp. Miles Sanders still on the young side. They overvaluing the shit out of the fact that they have a nice low number next
younger
to
age, but you also send away your seconds, dude. That's the stupid part.
But here's the thing that people always forget. Here's the thing that they always go, you're buying youth, but how safe is the actual youth? It's a facade, right? If Antonio Gibson is not worth anything next year, nobody's surprised. I love him to death, but
Mike might be surprised, but no one really surprised. No, I'm with you.
Miles Sanders, right? If he's basically one of these guys that's floating as a fringe, like possibly out of the league, right? Running back position. Nobody gives a shit. Like, nobody's surprised. Najee Harris, the same thing. He's going into his third year at the running back position, which is when you really start the whole dynasty value, we don't give a shit anymore. You already saw it last year in the second year. Nobody,
right.
People fucking hate him. And Michael Pittman, let's think about it. He'll be 26 next year. 26-year-old wide receiver. You're right on the breaking point of, have you done anything for me lately? Like, have you proven it, or are you just one of these guys that just the Jerry Judys of the world that just kind of just fits right in the middle? He's got to come out and do anything, and he's not a safe asset either. Just like the old guys that Tyler Lorenz are doing, but the difference is the old guys that he's acquiring, one of them has the potential of being the RB1 overall. One of them definitely has the potential of being the wide receiver 1 overall, because we just saw it a couple years ago. And Alvin Kamara, I know the whole suspension's there, but we've also seen elite production out of him. Whether you want to bank on him,
and they
or
get
not,
Derek Carr coming over. Maybe it's a little better.
Maybe.
There's a suspension hovering over though, right?
He gets 224 seconds on top for his troubles. This is a smash. Tyler Lorenz killed this one.
But see, what I think is criminal, and see, this is, let me just say, I think in the edge is where you win, okay? Because Sanders, like, let's call it what it is. Sanders got enough of a contract, and he's got 2 years of guaranteed money. Like, they can't move on from him for 2 seasons. So maybe
he's a running back, so his contract ain't that big. Nobody.
Let me say, they're not going to, because as much as you don't want to pay running back. So it'd be foolish to just say, hey, here's your $6 million, go away.
You really don't want to pay running backs to not play
football, right? Like, I want you to run the football as many times as possible for this contract. It's a 4-year contract, but they can get out in 2.
What did the Vikings just eat to tell Dalvin Cook we don't even want you to play on
Fair.
the team?
His contract was higher, but the point is with Sanders, right? What you said already is, like, if he's going to the 2024 season and it's like, yeah, he's there, but, like, what do we think of him? Not going to be shocking. Now, flip side is maybe Sanders in that role like can flourish and he stays healthy and like, okay. But what does that really look like?
Right.
Running back 12, 16-ish, like
if you're lucky.
And I love Sanders, the prospect, but I'm trying to be high end on it. Point is, your risk and reward is so much better off of Sanders than it is on Sanders. That's kind of the point I'm making here, right? Gibson, same thing. Now, I do think there is real upside with Gibson if they ever gave him back the workload because we have seen him be running back 10, 12, but it's also B-Rob's there. The coaching staff is a little changed. We know Bieniemy's there, but it's still Riverboat Ron, which I don't know. I have trust issues with Gibson and him in the same team, frankly.
So do I.
Najee Harris, yes, there's scenarios up there where you got some real good players, but here's the thing. When I look at a team that's a lineup start 11, I say a couple things. One, where's the best player in the deal, especially when there's no quarterbacks involved? Cooper Kupp is the best player in the deal as potential risk and reward. Is there risk? Of course. Reward, Cooper Kupp smashes everything if they all play out the best case scenario. Destroys it.
Right.
So you get that, and then you get replaceable running backs, but you still get the liquidity? That's ridiculous. You got everything you wanted to do in this trade. We've already talked about it too much. Last trade of this deal, of this show. New patron, Seacrest24. Tried to DM, but, we pulled the trades late. We got to have the blackout, and we don't have the team for the warp. But I will say, new patron, 12-team Superflex, half-point tight end premium, lineup start 10. So, Mike, here's the thing. This wasn't the idea of doing a quarterback horde. But basically, here's what we're looking at. 101, you take Mahomes. You come all the way back, and somehow Dak's there, which, Mike, you can say from a startup you're in recently that he was there at the 210. It's not crazy to say he's there at the 212, right?
Nope.
So you get Mahomes and Dak. Boom. I mean, that is a great start in a league that's half-point tight end premium, regular full PPR, lineup start 10. You want all the elite quarterbacks. But then it's like they started staying around too much, and you were able to essentially send your 24 first on a team you feel like is built well for the 705, and you get the third back to hopefully play with later. Kind of like a bargaining chip to go buy something if you want. Let me ask you this, Mike. If you have those two quarterbacks, are you willing to, if you've drafted right from 3 through 7, and you're sitting there at the 705, and someone's going to say, I'll take your 24 first. Here's Cousins, which gives you total security at the quarterback position at quarterback 3, and you get the third back. Are you in on this trade?
I wouldn't even say I would do it for the security at QB3 because I really don't give a shit about it if I have Mahomes, and especially don't give a shit about it if I have Dak in a lineup league. I'll find.
I'm talking about more from the injury standpoint.
I get you. Yeah. I get you. Even the injury part would not factor into my thinking about it. I wouldn't give a shit.
Okay.
The thing I'm factoring in is the leverage, because if you told me this pick, I don't know what's Kirk Cousins, you traded your 24 first for the 705, I go, that's stupid. That's horrible. Even if you got a third back, that's dumb. Right. I'm not doing that shit anymore. But the fact you went and you did it for Kirk Cousins, and now you got that little bit of leverage piece, whether it's to move Kirk Cousins or possibly move Dak Prescott.
I think the second point you made there is what makes it really, really ideal. You have security.
Yes.
You get Cousins, who when you have Mahomes, even in this type of a league, I could live with Cousins at my quarterback too, knowing I got Mahomes. Now all of a sudden you have on the table the Dak sell when it's bye weeks, when there's someone that screamingly needing a quarterback, and you either destroy them in picks or in what you need in your lineup with skill players. I like it quite a bit, given I think that's why I put the quarterback room down there and some of the specifics.
If I don't get the
if you don't have that context, it's a different trade, right?
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing it at all?
Let me ask you one last question. Let's say you didn't get Dak. Let's say at 212 the quarterbacks kind of went. Let's say you were leaning into Mahomes and getting all the skill players and reaping the benefits. Would you trade this to go get Cousins as your QB2?
That was the next thing where it's man, if I felt good about the rest of my team, I started Mahomes, which obviously is elite. But at the second, I didn't go quarterback. I couldn't get a Dak. My quarterback options were you got to reach on Daniel Jones, or take this really good wide receiver. Well, Warp tells me take the wide receiver. Screw Daniel Jones. And then you did the same thing in the third round. You could take a quarterback here, but it's going to be a reach. Okay, I'm good.
Right.
I just keep building skill players.
Right.
If I was built correctly, I don't like leveraging my first in a startup like immediately. I like to hold on to it for fluidity. But if you told me it was like, Mike, you could walk into Kirk Cousins with the roster you already have, secure or solidify your QB2 because maybe you didn't get another quarterback until like the 10th or 11th. It's like a Tannehill, which you don't feel good about it, or Jimmy G as your QB2, which, I mean, with Patrick Mahomes as a start, it's not the worst thing, but I feel much better if I just plug Kirk Cousins into a lineup every single week. Yeah, I think I would do it. But it's one of those weird scenarios where if you told me, hey, you picked at the 111, you started like Deshaun Watson and then some of these other players. I'm going,
there's
Patrick
more,
Mahomes
there's less. Yeah. But see, that's where this to me, and this is where, let me just say this before we get off of this trade, and this is the last one of the show. Context is king on a lot of things. Because, Mike, if you just showed me this trade and you said the settings without the team context, I'm not even going to say I'm out, but I'm like, man, I need to know more. That's my first thought, is I need to know more on why you're doing this. Because now when I look at this, right, like what's great about it is you have so many different leverage points. You can say, because it's your 24 first, as long as your team is still built the correct way, you can afford to sit on these three, which also depletes in lineup start 10 quarterbacks from everyone else. Like if you had to, right? Like even if you were basically saying like Mahomes and Dak are my weekly starters, Cousins is my bye week starter, and if something happens, because here's what's crazy about that, right? You're shallowing out the quarterback room for everyone else, but then like think about it in the lens of if you have Mahomes and Dak, you feel great leaving the startup and quarterback room. Now, if one of these two gets hurt, right? Like if you told me that you have Dak and Cousins, it's not perfectly ideal. But if you're built right, like that team can win with Dak and Cousins. Now, that's if Mahomes goes down, I'm saying. That's the worst case scenario for a team at 101. Right. If Dak goes down, you absolutely feel great about Cousins at quarterback too. Which also goes to the point that if someone comes calling in the weeks that inevitably, Mike, look at last year, man. Now, maybe that's worse than most years, but we had so many quarterbacks deal with injuries. Someone will come calling, hey, man, I need a quarterback. Maybe they don't want to get the old, crusty Kirk Cousins, but they're like, okay, it's Dak. All right, what do you need for Dak? You can afford to take that trade on, and you can also get back in a trade like that maybe, or pick up or trade somewhere else to a team that's not good. A Jimmy G, as much as people hate him and we don't, Mac Jones type thing for quarterback 3. You can solidify that with like a Stafford type. There's so much flexibility now that as much as I hate trading away my liquidity, this is where I would do it, right? So I need context, and I think that's why this was a great trade to end on. By the way, Seacrest24, new patron. Wish you wouldn't have blacked out names because I would love to, kind of shame the other side. But there it is, man. There it is. Trade show. 8 trades in the books. Well over an hour. Mike, that was a great trade show, man. I love starting off with T-Rock and 3 trades and kind of telling him. Well, I didn't. Mike told you he was upset. And anyway, trade show as a whole, Mike. We had a Fizzle banger with Goatrings. We had 3 T-Rock trades. We had a Mellow trade. We had a new patron. Bunch of good trades. What do you think, man?
Is that the first Fizzle Dollars trade we had on here?
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is I went through and I'm like, I know he had one in there, and I realized Goatrings dropped it. I'm like, Fizzle is so selfless. He's in our Patreon, but doesn't put trades on the shithead trades because he wants everyone else to get the glow. And I'm like, you know what? Goatrings is out here always posting it. I got to get Fizzle on the show. New album, new trade, both bangers.
I love Fizzle, but you can best believe when I sell him that 24 first of his that I own for that orphan he took over, I'll put that one in the trade show so we can talk about another one. No,
Fizzle, if you hold out until the expo, you will know to just ride it out. Don't do it. Save your soul, all right? Keep it in Maryland.
Good trade show. Go check out his album. Adam, this one was fun. I know it's probably too long for some people, and there's definitely some people who heard the intro song. I heard that, and I've already turned this off. Well, too bad. If I had my way, we'd just play the song.
Yeah, if I had my way, we'd hook up with Fizzle and be like, listen, you're going to hear the whole album in the background, like quietly, like for ambiance, just in the background of us talking.
I love it. No, good one. And I got to bash the hell out of T-Rock because, it feels good. Just feels good. And Mello, got to bash him too. Those are our guys, though, but I love doing it. I'm not afraid. What are they going to do? Gang up on me at the expo? I'm a big dude. Look at these pipes.
I haven't met Mello. I have met T-Rock. I wouldn't advise it, guys, personally. But anyway, yeah, great trade show. If you do want your deals featured on the show in one of the future episodes, patreon.com/South Harmon. $1 a month gets you in the door for now. Also, I will say if you've watched this far, if you enjoy our humor, you don't enjoy our humor, you don't enjoy our depth of trades and all as long as it's taking, you don't enjoy our intro, if you're this far, just go down and hit the like button. Comment to us and tell us how much you hate it, but do it for the algo, man, not even for us. That's what we're asking.
For the algo.
For the algo.
For the algo. Let's go.
And that's really it, man. Go check out the Warp tool. If you've listened through all this and you're seeing and hearing some of the context we give to trades, you can demo it and you'll see how it works. And then also, if you're like, man, I'm in enough leagues, like I'm in 4 or 5 leagues or more, try it for a month. I'm telling you that we're seeing by the growth of that this tool can really help people. And the crazy part is, this is what we know now. And when the season comes around and we start updating this thing and we keep Koopa, with his pedal to the metal every single week, this Warp tool is really going to be handy. So check that out. Other than that, that's all we got. We appreciate everyone tapping in. We'll see you back here, same time, same place, next week for the Dynasty Trade Show. We're out of this thing. Peace.